Fred Acosta from Sports Video Group back with you for another edition of SVG Sports Tech On Demand. We have the pleasure now to be joined by Mike Kelley. He's the president of Americas for Grabyo. We're talking live cloud production, multi-platform distribution, a company that's on the cutting edge of both of those exciting trends in the industry. Mike, great to see you. How you doing, sir?
Great to see you, Brandon. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. It's been quite an interesting 12 plus months now as the sports world has both adapted to, sort of figured out, and is now hopefully seeing a light at the end of the tunnel of this whole entire pandemic, of how it's kind of turned the sports media world as well as the regular world upside down. Now that we're at this point and where we are, you guys have been very involved with a lot of sports clients in how they've adapted to no sports at all, no fans at all, to now fans back in the stadiums in some capacity. What do you see as the biggest challenge facing people right now as we kind of are in this little hybrid window where we've got some fans back in the building, but we see a light at the end of the tunnel? What challenges are your clients facing, and what do you think Grabyo is offering right now that's kind of been advantageous for them at this time?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for the question. I think that, the last year has been challenging for everyone. Everyone needed to figure out, a lot of our customers and potential clients might had to figure out what they're going to do in the pandemic, what they were going to do for remote production and cloud production. Obviously, Grabyo was, saw some tremendous growth over the last year, and there's a big focus on live. We kind of came from the kind of clipping and editing and kind of VOD highlights world, and we had been evolving our live production suite. But the last year seen us really accelerate the feature set rollout there and the evolution of that product, partly due to customer demand. And it wasn't just digital and social teams requesting it, but also broadcast level production folks looking for remote tools and cloud-based tools. So I think as we go back now, as we're kind of getting somewhat back to normal, it's some decision times for folks about how much are they going to keep kind of in this remote and cloud-based world, and how much they're going to bring back into their studios. And I think there's a lot of discussion about kind of hybrid workflows that is super interesting, and we're kind of keeping tabs on. But it's been a great year for us, and a great kind of set of new features and evolution for Grabyo Producer, which is our live product.
Yeah, we'd love to know more about that. Grabyo Producer, your live product. You got a few others that are very actively used by many in sports. What are some of the latest solutions and maybe some of the big game clients that you guys have working with you right now?
Sure. We work with top global sports rights holders and broadcasters, in Europe, where the company was founded in London and the UK. We work with the Premier League and the All England Lawn and Tennis Club / Wimbledon, known as Wimbledon, and MotoGP over there, various soccer clubs in Europe. And then in the US here, we work with Univision on the broadcast side, with PBS, and with UFC, and NLL, so various kind of sports rights holders and teams here. And so I think the interesting thing is some of the new features we've rolled out have been focused on replicating some of the features and products that you might see on-prem in a studio. And so in a traditional suite in a studio, you might have a multi-viewer, a virtual switcher, an audio mixer. So we rolled out the multi-viewer so you can see up to 30 live thumbnails at once. And so different clients are starting to use that and test it. And someone like a MotoGP that has cameras all over the course, for example, can see all these different cameras at once and then decide which to flip live and switch between. So that was a nice rollout for us. And then we just rolling out this week the audio mixer. So essentially replicating an audio board, mixing board in the cloud, in the browser. And so that's being tested by some clients right now. That's super interesting for us as well. And we'll continue to kind of take some of these traditional hardware components and put them into a browser so people can use them very easily from wherever they are remotely, and can also collaborate remotely from different locations.
Sure. Now you talked a little bit about that hybrid world that many in the sports world are living in right now, or maybe planning to move on to as we continue to evolve here in 2021. From a content perspective, you guys have kind of been on the front lines of seeing a lot of your clients try some really, really cool, innovative, different stuff that maybe they wouldn't have tried if they hadn't been forced into it in the situation they were. Or maybe they'd always wanted to, had never had that push over the edge. As we look ahead in a world where smart TVs, phones, and engagement and gamification are more and more important, how do you think people are thinking about things that they tried, that they maybe never really thought they would have, that maybe sticking around? Have you seen kind of that direct engagement with content kind of stick with people, especially the content creators that you work with?
Yes, I think there's one of the case studies we published was with UFC and some of the things that they did, where they decided, what, some of this live content we're creating and pushing out to social and digital channels, especially, we don't need to run through the production truck. We can produce this content with some very basic equipment. Maybe it's phones or maybe it's live view units. Some lighting, and then Grabyo in the browser on the laptop, and you can switch between different inputs. You can have graphics, you can have different layouts, and then push those to multiple channels if you need to. So that's what the kind of evolution of thinking of saying we don't need to engage a broadcast truck necessarily to do this type of show. And then I think you're kind of as the sports betting world evolves and you see. There's going to be a massive proliferation of content around sports betting, and some of that will be driven by the rights holder themselves. Some might be driven by the broadcasters or the sports betting companies, and then there might be third-party, syndicators as well that might create content. So that's a really interesting space to watch for video content.
Yeah, a lot of exciting ways to not only consume content, but also produce it and distribute it now. And the folks at Grabyo are empowering a lot of sports content creators to do that right now. He is Mike Kelley. He's president of Americas for Grabyo. Definitely check them out. Mike, thanks so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it. Always great to talk to you.
Brandon. Thanks for having me.
All right, for more SVG Sports Tech On Demand interviews from other leaders around the industry, head on over to sportsvideo.org.